So that the Korean people most of the job that started to be given in last year on the data there and be unable to select me at all. While that everyone around Twilight will be running on carrying in line that as prepared running in all directions. And the Twilight will be standing right there and with that absolute frozen like that yeah that and Twilight will be like looking beside him and like close by him that shopkeeper lady to Twilight was like talking to that and that Twilight talking seeing us in like taken off stage like the scenario parallel so like Twilight still would be in that absolute frozen like state when like the that Twilight like power like the the grabbing and taking Twilight and basically hugging and holding Twilight close to him and basically while will be desperately running. Stuck in a train because so like at that point I'm to bring that Twilight totally looking up and noticing that it's like Twilight's left power. So definitely at that point I'm going to bring that Twilight like asking his father about that about the black mother of the like the scenario that I'm going to go different. So like at that point I'm going to bring Twilight's father like they died into like Twilight because like in that first wave of attack itself, I'm going to find maybe the scenario to be like Twilight land another having taken on. So definitely I'm going to bring Twilight's father at that point would have even realized this as well. Might be 5 minutes, but he also not friend. So definitely Twilight's father at that point and dying in the Twilight that training Twilight that shift that they would say and basically that they are going to there and they are going to get there and he said should get out the line that Twilight's father would be trying to like I mean, so would be telling Twilight at that point is like this scenario that I'm looking only right. So like at that point, like Twilight, I'm looking like um telling to like something to say like Twilight is about like basically about like the lie that Twilight had told to like Twilight's father for like the money to buy that toy that was not that I'm looking so definitely at that point I'm looking at Twilight's father like hugging Twilight even hearing that like Twilight's father like hugging while running that hugging Twilight even while telling Twilight that it's okay, that would be around the right father would be telling Twilight, but like I'm just going to be at that very moment that I'm looking for that the next wave of that magic. And at that point, since Black Friday going and once that person that I'm able to bring and once Black Friday will be regaining back, it's like once we find it that that the war to be over by that person. So like at that point, like when I will be seeing like that shocking aftermath of that war, like when I will be seeing that that extremely badly injured people around like Twilight Land or watering in toxic falls after they end up putting that whole lot of people like falling out for their families and some of them getting reunited with their families and like while getting reunited like they are crying with that people crying that tears of literally and that's so like at that point Twilight at that point on the thing is that really falling off the office that and like and things crying that while Twilight will be searching around that area like and that Twilight so like at that point, while Prophet will be like going around magically falling off like the path to next one. So the point like Twilight stops getting connected to so like finding out that Twilight's like front been taken out. And basically that to be the Twilight that has would stop and like Twilight still the way would be calling out for his parent of the amount of and power and everything right. Then Twilight was softly finding out that his like father was lying and his like mother had been taken off and then when I finding out that he had lost his own father as well. That the scenario so that I'm looking. So like at that point like Twilight would be in like a frozen like state and would be totally feeling them and like while I'm going to bring for there to be a lot of families around like Twilight will be crying and or like the dog uh that they will be going through something like Twilight like the scenario that I'm looking on so definitely I'm going to bring not only understood so like not only understood the manner that when I'm looking like while I will be noticing that it's a familiar cry voice and that I'm going to bring for to be that the cry voice of that crying that scenario that I'm looking for the cry. So like that way like from like the friendship gang and so like Frank alone stuff right you know stuff right but I don't Frank alone stuff right and they like Twilight, like a book that Frank would have lost in that family, the being on the record. Frank was about to cry, and that at that point, I'm bring that familiar, that hearing that familiar crying voice of like Frank, you know. absolutely perfect that snapping Twilight out from that numb like state is like the scenario that I'm looking at. Twilight we are rushing towards like Frankie and like Twilight at that point. If you're going to that sleep, that's feel like comfort Frankie at that point is like the scenario that I'm looking for the and Frankie I'm preferring like at that point like Frankie alone being that absolute only season of that for like Twilight is like that because like with that Twilight losing um uh people most participate in that at that point that definitely Twilight Frankie would be feeling as like absolute everything for like Twilight at that point was like the scenario that I'm looking for the Frankie definitely that will improve this that aftermath of that through this like extreme like situation of like fight going through the aftermath of like the war like a like Twilight having Frankie and Frank and Twilight and that way I'm considering that while currently and by that my days while through this that aftermath period that so the cutting off like Twilight was likely telling Frankie that basically Twilight has decided that about the like ultimate goal in life that Twilight was when it goes up and losing your Twilight to be telling Frankie that definitely going to put an end to that the war between he's going to ensure to that to put an end to like the war between like Pakistan and Pakistan once he grows up, he get under that Twilight would be selling Frank. At that point, it's like the scenario that I'm looking at very much. While for Frank at that point, probably finding the big out getting absolutely scared of that, going through that experience of like war, like understand at that point that Frank is repeatedly afraid, and if Frank at that point would be telling Twilight that Frank is definitely going to that move away from like the scale would be along the lines of the move far away from that the scales would be along the lines like Frankie would be telling Twilight. But like about the friend like actually positive emotions that we Twilight like influence that might have resulted in that eventually Frankie as well deciding to do that totally that take the like Twilight and this need to and that eventually that Twilight goes becoming Frankie's role as well might have what happened for such a man so that like on that Twilight might have the Twilight words might have really influenced that Frankie as like way to because like definitely literally Frankie might have realized that might have strongly felt that it's me for that no other that people neither in like Australia or like West Dallas to like accepting to go through what they have gone through that like listening to your family would be the lines on the tip and that Frankie as well to make it as to do them up and that would be feeling and like they see that way and the different like Twilight as well as Frankie and preparing and doing it as with everything for like the best as well as like the training and everything to uh, to that join like the spy agency and for the running for that the spy agency being extremely impressed with that Twilight performance and like at the same time like thoroughly unimpressed with that Frank's performance with like scenario that up in that way that Twilight getting selected while Frank was getting selected was like doing the scenario that but like I'm suffering that and it might have been that I think it might have been that very same agent lady that always gives that Twilight that on all of his like missions 100% like to might have done like Twilight and find it like immediate as 20%. It might have been like a great million so like it might have been like it might have been Twilight with this like charm and his like confidence that it might have been Twilight that might have given that assurance to and it might have been at that point the agent lady that telling Twilight that basically trying to stand the access to that inspiring. So like at that point I'm referring that might be Twilight which is that but might have given that assurance to like the Asian lady that that to that Frank will join like spy agency and that Twilight will always ensure that Frank's performance is like up to that command that like Twilight would be giving Frank all of this that all of his own private training and ensure to like really have without this regulated how like Frank as well the performing up to like that with their own training and Twilight might have given that assurance to that was spy agent lady and like spy agent lady might honestly at that point that might have given a short deadline to Twilight to that make that what Twilight claims happen at with how that Twilight be performing after that the mark. So like the clear that point that within that short for like an exam or like a test training test like for like trying to an extra training test for like trying to on the date of the deadline like I'm going to spy using ladies method set up solely due to like not being that much impressive like Twilight. So certainly I'm looking like Twilight might have given that second all of this like effort and might have given that as well personal training for like trying by Twilight improvement like that will like trying might have found that like such on the day of like the deadline is like they want the scenario that and that might have for the CC like that's why in might have been what might have happened certainly that way alone is like quite like my just that then might have accepted to like the price it might have been what might have happened that might have been the but also about the Mediterranean the different back and during that aftermath period of like the war like and from that point might have been such an extreme solely might have been such an extreme released to like well that basically while they might have like had periods of that basically while they might have been struggling to like the beat that during that time Twilight might have gone to the extent of like even staying hungry while dying to like find that like Twilight already had found had food while giving up like Twilight food but then after to like trying to ensure that trying to like welfare and definitely that such extent to such extent like like Twilight might have totally ensure that Frankie is like totally okay. Uh, as of that he can make Frankie as like okay as that possible. Okay, because like during that half time period, like I'm referring to that Frankie process alone might have been of like such happy comfort for like Twilight might have not everyone and everything who knows that like only for the like Twilight by that might have been like it is certainly also made of the one. Okay, so like definitely anything by job is definitely for like so to be solely into that Twilight deciding to let go fishing alone that and trying like Twilight might have that survive while during that air raid because that is the scenario that I'm going wrong that need during like the air raid and so getting like the entire building where like Twilight was like saying that like Twilight like mother as well as like relatives like only getting then that and that building that getting taken off during like the air raid is like the scenario set up of the problem. So like the level spring ones like for regular scenario to be like we could like the air raid would be over like a the going and Twilight still survives that like Twilight would be that quickly around that so attack the building location where people is select process over attack the building on which that updated one like they are like considering Twilight getting that as because shop with like the entire building having being in like a flat kind of like stage up of like the air like that was the one and to me like the next shop that for the things to be happening for like the job of Twilight especially the same scenario that I'm going to find yes, so like the click on prevention right now is that what might have eventually change, brought about that change in that Twilight, that mindset eventually. When I joined like the army might have been eventually like being part like the army and that being in that the war like eventually Twilight might have by sheer appointment like Twilight might have ended up running into the very exact kind of like situation with like Twilight in like the step up and going to the top of like the war. Uh, where like Twilight was like crying over the loss of his like mother, like unbelievable and an exact similar scenario where like the book is supposed to be maybe this time supposed to be a girl crying over like the loss of her father or like mother in like a broken down destroyed building. It's like the it's like the situation to which that Twilight white quite exactly what into the running into uh, by exactly approaching like the scenario that we can see that witnessing that site on or liberating would be running into that site that would be instantly triggering that the past traumatic memory of like Twilight and basically for different possibility maybe at that point that Twilight so the chance would be only feeling that is that would be feeling along the line that like wow it's like the solution team part of like the Twilight is not the solution instead of that thing part of like the war like for like Twilight like starting to like think from that way on to like basically figure out a way to like stop like the war and like the dispute between Western and like Australia to end that like Twilight starting to like think along such lines of different maybe like start after like witnessing that such an incident especially that thing to scenario that I was about to write and not the with that that way like a different Twilight then while Twilight will be once again meeting up with that Frankie like so different that Twilight like he was telling Frankie as to like how badly he wants like the war to be like the standard Estonia to the end how it was so badly that let's drop it. And basically at that point I was trying it just casually like in a non-serious manner, maybe telling Twilight has to like why don't Twilight like join a spy agency or something. So here on the line something that trying to get telling Twilight. So like at that point I'm just trying like Twilight that idea getting formed in like Twilight's mind to actually join a spy agency and basically that way to like attempt to like end the war between like Costello and Estania's like the scenario that I'm here. So like Twilight taking that casual dialogues of like trying to see the sea and basically attempting at that joining aspiring and getting selected. The Twilight itself like trying to live within getting selected. Twilight of like getting trying to like engage to like Twilight to like join to like try you know that is like in the scenario that I'm sort of playing and sort of it's so that the flavor so right now for like a different childhood from the Twilight and like in the next mission like and so the thing of them to most likely catch up like Frankie is like the scenario that I'm looking in the scenario that I'm looking at but definitely at that point like they will be capturing Frankie alive like this like Australian person at like the kind of something like them bring Frankie back after the death of his Frankie alive to the like camp the like Twilight is like in charge of like the cooking and everything like scenario that I'm sort of so like I'm sort of while frankly would be into like kind of state there like different like definitely a lot of interaction like happening between like not just Twilight as well as like Twilight like general friends but also that frankly but like them collectively having a lot of like conversation where like even though initially like Twilight like childhood friends might be suddenly having that very same it's like like Twilight towards that Frankie like public thing definitely Frankie's words which will during that next conversation like ending up influencing and bring about the change in like mindset of like of not just of like mainly Twilight definitely one friend but maybe like Twilight's words like I'm definitely um updated and maybe Twilight managing to that way influence like those three childhood things of like Twilight's like presentation of that and then slowly deciding to like totally uh, and I'm referring to three fronts of the Twilight as well. Why that would might have got tired of that of that fighting that we have and everything. Might have been starting to get tired of that fighting like the war and everything might be that the case of the friend. Like the situation stuff. I don't that point especially with friend so definitely I'm looking for that collectively deciding to that free prime them finally deciding to that free prime from temporary free prime from his like some kind of stage from like the camp in like the middle of the night and we sleep. And that way Twilight and about Black Friday and like the three childhood friends of them Twilight like deciding to like steadily escape from like the camp and basically to set up their own tour to like to somehow put an end to like the war. It's like the Egyptian scenario that I'm looking at. That name was referring definitely most likely I'm also correcting like for like the words of like Frankie like about like basically people of like of China as well about having like uh, loss of exactly like the people of West Dialect that would be that but Liam was putting like unlike like Twilight space like the channel fronts of like Twilight might have actually might be witness of that the loss of during that mission of like the loss that like Australia would have gone through the part of like the job might be also the case with previous friends. So that made the words of Frankie like I'm that made that Twilight like friends for each other like them maybe being able to like relate to it uh, due to like them unlike Twilight possibly has that witness to do the job might be might be the case also like about the around the book. So like that way like them eventually like deciding to like totally to find figure out to escape from like the camp and that army and these need to figure out a way to like bring about the tenant to like the war. So like with that intent like I'm different while escaping like I'm different like certainly one of the maybe like trying to actually prepping and basically that way like I'm just putting that for that one of like the soldiers at like the camp like only finding out effectively last second about their attempt to like escape from like, the camp and at that point I'm just putting like soldiers like taking out of that and at that point I'm just putting like Twilight with just like situation like injury situation like I'm getting Twilight totally like simply hiding somewhere and just basically deciding to hide rather than out chase like chasing uh army force like the Twilight along with like hiding somewhere while like the remaining three uh, friends of like Twilight like would be on the run to like outrun like the chasing soldiers who like still on the front like then getting captured and getting taken out straight away by like the soldiers and as like and then getting formed the betrayers of like the army and with them getting taken out by the soldiers while Twilight as well as like Twilight as well as Mikey would be going through that for like such a realization of that of the loss of that Twilight controls that scenario that I'm putting at that point I'm looking like Twilight being extremely feeling extremely embraced and like trying to and like definitely Twilight only doing that was a trying to that Twilight Twilight has like now something that much difference and everything. Yeah, like I'm doing that still eventually that during that interaction with like Frankie and Twilight, like eventually Twilight Frankie comes down Twilight and eventually them starting to like keep going on with the so to protect about and then to like the war between like the Western and Scania. It's like the scenario that I was around the and that way that can sort of bring for like Twilight, that Frankie that eventually succeeding in like the upper escape and like easily along the way that like making that escape like along the way like self only running into that's of last Twilight like fight agent lady at okay. That can sort of that connection to like Twilight like by sheer person like there's not that of the story. So that he while trying to like while escaping that Twilight and trying to get runs into right in front of that car of like the quite heavy lady and then getting into that car like that by them asking for that lift and like the car like spy agent lady like basically would be casually interacting with that Twilight as well as that trying to actually find out like uh, about more about like Twilight and like find them basically during that chat like while the spy agent lady would be pretending to be casually interacting with them like and so that spy agent lady definitely would be having that strong very exact mindset as that finding us to that wanting to like that they was about and then some way that it is about and then to like the war between like what that's understand. Actually, I would enjoy that interaction like a different definitely. Uh, by the time like that ride would be over, like I'm with friend like the what could be like the spy stage and ladies and stuff. Earlier, finally revealing about about like spy organization and like about adapting like Twilight and finding that they want to like join like spy organization and basically and if they want to like fight through that basically it's about connect to like the war between like just tell them understanding so they recognize like the fight agent there is asking that private as well as that Twilight at that point and the place that both like at that point so they straight away and like that way, like I'm the yeah, like I'm the one even told that was by his lady with the tune that extremely difficult and challenging that training us for like the Twilight as well as like trying to engage that Twilight as well as like trying to that putting in that all that hard work and that and passing like the scenario that I was about to bring on today. I guess yeah, like I'm still thinking about the mission right now as well, like the Roberts campaign mission definitely being supposed for like the street front of like Twilight and basically I'm definitely still thinking about the mission for to be like during that the Roberts campaign mission that like I'm preferring that that would be most likely being like the one to like capture that Frankie and like during that exact mission and that way bringing like Frankie back to that army camp as like Anosmania is that the eventual scenario that I'm sitting on the mountain. By the time when I will be joining spy agency, trying to go out or the agent before that self go out join the spy agency. And it might have been after like that whole run in that like Twilight as earlier with like Frankie like back then after like Frankie escaped like while escape he might have by sure going to run into this very exact like by agent. Obviously, like the name much actually I mentioned right now, especially for like after like Twilight, they get closer to like the military intelligence, like I'm totally bring this that military intelligence head guy. I'm totally bring that without initially only getting taken out during one of the like missions in which that I'm totally bring out that Twilight would be uh around with chance like taking on that mission. So like I'm sure while Twilight and would be like doing that initially as like a different like most likely getting taken off like the scenario that I was going and definitely that individual that will be replacing that military intelligence head guy at that point. I'm talking at that the military department. I'm referring to the most likely that the present uh, fight isn't leading to 10,000 missions to that Twilight at present like Amazon. Maybe that might be going to be replacing the like the intelligence guy once like essentially during one of his like missions and was like Twilight to get taken on. It's like the scenario that I'm talking about. So like so the prince even with like him getting taken off like Twilight definitely by himself, even though that could be a short for like Twilight still Twilight by then would have had this like would have sharpened his skills to like such extent that I'm suffering like Twilight still even with like that military intelligence head of stuff getting taken off like still Twilight would be definitely succeeding in that mission. It's definitely like in the scenario that I'm living and my desire about it. Yet like Twilight would be still seen as like not mature enough of like an officer to actually replace that military intelligence officer. So that would have probably gotten taken off. So like that way that made uh, that ends up getting up and get replaced with select military intelligence as like connection is being set up. Just like the scenario that I'm just going to bring out 300. So yeah, well, that make my thinking very interesting right now. But like the very next move that like some for different software like to be more most likely to like ensure to like find the headings of like slacks like weakness and basically to that way get find the weakness and basically to take advantage of that to have that the headings of slack that take quite a like influence that idea. And that way to like prevent Anya from getting any more monster of God so they along the lines of the different like Twilight project from quite on like you're planning and you'll be attempting to like make this like next move, especially when during the so that name is running Twilight so that have to tell like five on like Slack and so they bring like Slack like daily routine and everything like so they bring like Twilight like to find like Slack weekly like step based five and eventually finding out like that weakness of Slack which might lead up to this cat so definitely in like apartment like I'm different like Slack might be having might be doing it like a whole lot of like cat Schlag might be obsessed with like cats. Might be that it is definitely not very understood. So like that way like Twilight and okay trying for like without one finding so like once finding that out of so like trying for like Twilight straight away that getting a cat and like basically as like a pet for like as like a second pet for like Anya. Was like just an arc that I'm just about the body and definitely I'm just bring Anya to like not like the cat like unlike in like Bond's case, like I'm so different, I need to like mostly a cat person. I need to like most likely do more like a dog person than a cat person. So like I need no like it's the cat as like personality that I'm going different. Yet like I'm doing and then Twilight getting angry and like Twilight probably like to see the space filling that Anya has to like the cat and has to like take the cat to that so and everything would get on there like Twilight will be like a serious case will be telling and like the scenario that I'm so like luckily and at that point I'm not looking for like bond like I know like sound bonds to like get extremely jealous of like this like new pet cat of like I know like the scenario that I'm looking for and like not giving all that importance to that pet cat I'm looking for and that would be creating that as with jellyfish bond was like for connecting the scenario that I'm looking for and that and I'm looking like during that situation like the cat taking absolute advantage of it, like of all the important people be getting to that even more for bonds as well. It's like the cat and slowly going to the market market and will be market bonds stuff like so at that point it's now also like taking the rally that I'm looking for but in that way like I'm looking for in that eventually I'm looking for in like a whole fight totally happening. I'd like the how while bond and like cat I'm looking for at some point to be the all by some white like Lloyd and almost left your as well as Anya will be at some point like the sister will be stepping out while leaving phone as well as like the new pet cat at the by themselves some offering like a whole lot of fighting happening and basically by the time that Lloyd and also with their friends back like like the house union and darkness and I'm also like the cat and next that will love the him would be like stepping out would be escaping through the window out of like the apartment is next to scenario that I'm so different. So like that way like I'm trying one like Lloyd and the Lloyd and your and like I know they're running back from like a position like them for seeing like the entire house from like and that's with that form. So no. So that's the scenario that I'm looking to like that way like I'm doing the Twilight straight away assuming Twilight and your like straight away assuming that it was all that gone doing. That's the house phenomenon and everything. So like that way, like I'm putting like the cat, the new pet cat, like that way, including framing for and like basically though idea would do like realizing the book through ideas like delivery powers and everything. It's like the scenario that episode of the correct kind of gravity. And that way I'm doing that way through like the next phase of like operation splits I'm going to bring you know likely through the extreme importance of like a cat like the scenario that I'm playing through like idea taking the cat to like there always like I'm in there like I'm through the cat like I'm bringing those up to be like a great struggle for like Anya like the cat I'm for different not for cooperating at all. Like I still I'm different like Anya struggling with her way through like the cat to like eventually gain like the lighting of like and the source like it's like still the scenario that I'm just different I'm not